Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. So we have one other figure from the Epic Evolution Strike Attack figures that I did not take a look at, and I was fully intending on making a video. In fact, I think I said it in the very first review of this wave of figures that I was going to make a video at some point showcasing the similarities or differences between this one and the original release, because this figure, in a way, was released prior. This is the older version, which I think might have been a Legacy Collection release, if I remember correctly. And we had assumed that this was just a re-release again in the Epic Evolution packaging. However, they actually do look a little bit different, and we will talk about it. Originally, I was, again, like I said, I was going to make a video about this, but it took me, for some reason, a while to find this figure in my shelf. Like, it was just buried so deep in there that I didn't see it, like, for a while. And I was like, well, I don't know if anybody's really going to be all that interested, so it wasn't, like, a top priority. I was just looking for it every once in a while a little bit. And then some other people had actually made a video about this already. I think maybe Collect Jurassic had actually made a video about this. And at that point I was like, well, I mean, if somebody else has already done it, then I don't really need to. I was originally going to make the video because I didn't think anybody else would. I just didn't think it was something that anybody else would care about. But I actually have had a lot of people messaging me lately, and still, even after the other videos have come out, I've had people messaging me asking me to make a video about this. So, why not? I guess I'm always here to give the viewers what they want, so here we go. We're just going to go ahead and make a video about it anyway. Obviously, this is the final piece of the puzzle when it comes to the strike attacks for the first wave of Epic Evolution. You can see here on the back the other figures that are in this wave, all of which I have reviewed, all of which we reviewed quite a little ways back, and now we again have the Velociraptor, which, like I said here, at first glance, you look at the two and you think, wow, they're definitely the same figure, and they are extremely, extremely similar, but just ever so slightly different. So I'm going to pop this out of the box. This is probably going to be a very quick video. I'm going to pop this out of the box, and we're just going to jump to a quick closer look and check it out from there. So as far as the figure goes, overall, at first glance, it absolutely does look like the same figure. And it's like almost baffling to me why they would choose this one to release, because I feel like this Raptor specifically probably has like one of the overall lowest ratings, I would think, when it comes to collectors, because it just is such a strange looking sculpt. It's got almost like a little bit of a pot belly on it, and it has probably the lamest action feature that Mattel has potentially ever produced, as we basically just have a swivel in the stomach and you just kind of move it, and I guess the claws are supposed to be swiping or something. I mean, it doesn't really do anything other than swivel in the stomach. There's no real way to actually activate that action feature, so it's just not a good action feature overall. It's pretty lame, so it's actually kind of weird that they would have chosen to re-release this figure. I feel like they would have definitely been better off at least improving the action feature a little bit for this one and releasing it again that way. Luckily for me, I haven't actually watched any of the other videos that are out on this subject, so I'm basically going to discover this on my own here with you guys as far as the differences, though I can see one that is definitely obvious straight away. As soon as I put the two together, I could see the tone of color for the primary body is a little bit different. But if we bring the figure up, the older release, and we take a look at the two, you can see that the older one was definitely a darker variation of an orange, whereas the newer one is more of like a lighter variation of like a yellowish orange. So I think that's probably the biggest difference between the two. Just looking at them, you can absolutely see that they are different when it comes to the tone of color overall. Very different as far as that goes. But moving past that point, you can see that the differences aren't quite as obvious. First of all, you can see one thing that is a little bit different, but when it comes to figures like this, you never really know if it is something that is consistent overall through the course of the line, is that we have more of, actually use the head to point it out, of this Raptor, you have more of this brown moving down along the back of the neck of this one, whereas you have a lot less on the newer one. But since these figures are kind of hand painted, that could just be on this Raptor. I don't know if that is on the run overall, since I've only seen this one. I haven't actually seen these in store or anything quite yet. The obvious tones of color again are different here in the face. As you can see, lighter tones in the newer one, darker on the older one. The eyes look to be the same color of green, but they sort of look a little different. Like the eyes looked a little bit bigger on the older one compared to the newer one, which is pretty interesting because it looks like they are the absolute same head sculpt, but the eyes for some reason look bigger. I don't know if it was just the paint application, but even the area around the eye, like even the area of the eye itself, I should say, kind of looks a little bigger. But I really don't know that it is. I think it's just the placement and the size of the paint that they used for the eyes. The inside of the mouths look like they're almost the same tone of color, but they are actually slightly different. Definitely a little bit darker as far as the pinkish tone on the older one, a little bit brighter when it comes to the tone of color on the newer one. The teeth also look maybe a little bit more yellow on the newer one as well, so a little difference as far as that goes. Actually, before we stray too far, the inside of the mouth on the upper side of the newer one is unpainted, whereas it is actually painted on the older one, so there is a difference there as well. Of course, the nails remain unpainted on both versions, and then if we take a look here at the back, you can see the brownish tone is pretty similar, maybe a little bit different on the older one. We have the same similar style to the striping moving down along the back, but the stripes as well were definitely a bit darker on the older one. So overall, it seems to be like the story of these two figures. The older one is pretty close to the same, but just a lot darker as far as the tones of color used compared to the newer one. We do also have that light tone that begins in the chest, runs down to the stomach region, and also disappears just like we did on the older one. And the tones of color look like, again, maybe a little darker on the older one, a little brighter on the newer one. The articulation and everything is going to be the same on this one as it was on the older one. Whoops, we're clicking things. No real differences as far as that goes. All of the articulation seems to be the same. I will give you guys the fax app code here for you to add this one to your collection in case it does bring up a different raptor. But I think that's really all we need to do. I don't think we need to go any further than that, because I think all we really needed to establish was the differences between the two, and there's very little when it comes to those differences. So if it is a figure you want to pick up, if you are into absolutely collecting every single variant Mattel has out, I would definitely recommend searching this one out, because even though it's not far off and it's probably one of the worst Mattel Raptors that they've released, it is at least somewhat different. And definitely, again, if you want to have the complete line, I guess you should probably snag this one as well. So let me know in the comment section what you guys think of this, and also like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.